and people in my audience cheered. And I'm like, wait a minute, aren't we on her side?
I was going to say, she's the bad guy?
It's Dwayne Johnson like you've never seen him before, except it's also very similar to things you've seen Dwayne Johnson do before, but it's a departure, it's dramatic, and gosh, does it have awards, ambitions. It's the Smashing Machine. This is a very, very early review from us here. This comes out on Friday, but we could not wait to talk about it. I know there's a lot of expectation about it. So come subscribe and hang out during all the important award season movies. Alonso, what happens in the Smashing Machine?
Winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world.
This is the solo directorial debut of Benny Safdie. Dwayne Johnson stars as a real-life UFC fighter named Mark Kerr, who was a college wrestler who made his way into the early years of sort of the UFC, and when MMA was really kind of getting off the ground and not the sort of very established, very lucrative sport that it is today. And the movie focuses on his success and efforts to achieve, while also dealing with some personal demons along the way. His very close friendship with his college friend Mark Coleman, played by real life MMA fighter Ryan Bader, and Mark's volatile relationship with his girlfriend Dawn, played by Emily Blunt. I will say that Benny Safdie, who also wrote the film, is trying to avoid sports movie cliches. This does not travel in the trajectory that you would expect. This doesn't go through the character arcs you might expect. It doesn't go through the, kind of the points hit along the way that you would think a movie like this would do. Unfortunately, it doesn't really replace them with anything else. So this movie just kind of shambles along. It doesn't have any of the kind of snap or electricity or tension that you expect from a Safdie brothers movie. It sort of lopes from thing to thing. He's taking too many prescription drugs. He goes to rehab for prescription drugs. Emily Blunt's character is supportive, but then she's not supportive because she's still going out and, getting drunk while he's, actively, in rehab and working the 12 steps and all that stuff. I kept waiting for this movie to start in a way, like you get the milieu, you get who these characters are, and then it doesn't really go anywhere. Weirdly enough, the most interesting character to me was Mark Coleman, played by Ryan Bader, who's not, I think this is one of his very first acting performances. He has a grace and a real naturalness on camera that's really fascinating. And I wanted to know everything about him and what he was up to, but Emily Blunt is playing this idea of a woman. And again, she's a real woman. I'm sure the real woman is a fascinating figure. We don't get that in the movie. We just get somebody who is there to sort of react and either be supportive or cause problems. Like they kind of flipped a coin, it feels like, from time to time. And Mark Kerr, it's like, what are you about, man? Not that you have to have the traditional sports movie backstory, but who is this guy? Yeah. The film never really tells you much of anything. There's a point where he and Mark and Dawn have an argument where she says, "You don't know a thing about me." And I thought, yeah, I don't know a thing about you either. I don't know a thing about him either. I don't know anything, So maybe if you were a fan going in and you already know the backstory here, seeing these matches, that were happening in Tokyo get recreated or whatever will be interesting. And the actual fight sequences are well shot and well edited, and they're gripping in their sort of isolation from the rest of the movie. But this movie doesn't go anywhere or do anything or say anything about human beings in a way that I found remotely interesting.
I kept waiting for its why. Why this guy? Why this story? Why now? And the movie never answers it until the final title cards, where it says, you don't know this guy's name, and this is before MMA was really lucrative, and we should learn his name, and his name is Mark Kerr. So this is Benny Safdie's point, is to sing the praises of an unsung hero in this sport.
A noble idea.
Right. Maybe, as you say, if you know UFC and you know who this person is, maybe it's all a lot more meaningful. I am not a fan of the sport. I don't get the allure of the sport. So even watching these matches, as gritty and as intimate and as unflinching as they are, like, I was not even drawn in by that because I'm like, okay, even though there aren't that many of them, as you say, it's not really a sports movie. It's character drama. Even those, though, I'm like, okay, I'm not engaged with this. I don't care who wins. I don't care how they win. I don't even get how they win.
Well, yeah, there are a couple of them that there's like 2 or 3 almost that fall into the formula of like, knock the guy over, sit on his chest, punch him in the head, and then you win. Like that's kind of what we get. But there's at least some sort of visceral energy to that. And yeah, at the very end is the suggestion of like, wanting to go back and sing the praises of this guy who excelled in a sport before the sport really took off, on a global scale. Great idea. But who is Mark Kerr? I still don't know.
I think we're meant to feel compelled by the inherent contradiction of this man. The fact that he was unfailingly polite.
Yes.
There's that scene where he's talking to the grandma in the doctor's office waiting room, and he's so sweet to her and explaining this really brutal sport in the kindest, most polite terms. And then you see him in the ring and he's ferocious. And Dwayne Johnson has been transformed here. He's someone whose body we know real well. It is hulking beyond that. And of course, the great Kazuhiro, the makeup prosthetics master who turned Charlize Theron into Megyn Kelly and turned Gary Oldman into Winston Churchill and won Oscars.
Jim Carrey into the Grinch.
Yeah. And also for Norbit. Norbit will forever be the Academy Award nominated Norbit, thanks to Kazuhiro. But he, turns Dwayne Johnson into somebody who, is unrecognizable at times, a very famous face, and we see it in there a little bit, but the makeup work is really, really great.
Yeah.
And so maybe that alone is also meant to be part of the allure. Like, look at this person who is a brand, a global brand, one of the best known stars on the planet. And he is digging deep and showing a more dramatic side and transforming his face and his body. Maybe that alone is meant to be the point, but I didn't care. And the thing with the whole Emily Blunt character, like, she has to put up with so much stupid shit. He's so nitpicky about like how the cactuses are being trimmed in the backyard and what kind of milk did she put in his smoothie, and she didn't put enough bananas in there. Like, she has no life outside of him. She schleps halfway around the world to go watch him fight in Japan, and he blows her off. She looks beautiful. Like, she's clearly, like, her entire life is tailored around him. So yeah, you're right. That one scene where they're fighting, when she's like, you didn't know anything about me, I'm thinking like, I don't either. But also with that scene, it's so funny. And I wonder how different audiences are going to react to it. Because first of all, it takes place for what feels like the entirety of Bruce Springsteen's Jungleland, which is like a 9.5 minute long song. And the use of music and the use of narration here is so overbearing. That's a whole other thing I want to get to. But at one point, they're fighting, and he goes to her, I think you should pack a bag and leave. And people in my audience cheered. And I'm like, wait a minute, aren't we on her side?
I was going to say, she's the bad guy? I mean, not that she isn't, but neither of them have enough. We don't know about enough, but either to even guess who the bad guy or the good guy is. Like, they are these sort of ideas of characters that are sharing a house together and getting to a huge fight right before they're about to give a party. That made me more tense than anything else in the movie. Guests are coming. She's putting out the hors d'oeuvres,
The crudité. Who will eat the crudité if you're getting mad at each other? Yeah, I feel like justice for Emily Blunt. Like, she's as good in this as she can be, given how little she has to work with.
Not for lack of trying. Yeah. She came to act, but the script did not meet her halfway.
Yeah. Also, from the very beginning, the use of narration was so overbearing, kind of like F1, where the announcers are explaining everything to you. There's a whole opening thing where all these different, like, sources of sound are competing with each other. It's like it's the audio of Mark Kerr doing an interview explaining winning. It's a song, and it's like the sound of an actual fight going on. Like, we're hearing his interview while we're watching him fighting. And all three of these things are competing with each other in a way that also reminded me of your complaints about highest to lowest. how that score was so
Yeah.
overbearing and so intrusive that it was a distraction. And I found that to be the case a lot of times here with both the score and the choice of songs.
Yeah, I mean, I thought at least the needle drops were sort of meant to be kind of like ironic, like they were very sort of, arena rock kind of things, but not to any greater point than like, this is probably what you would hear at an MMA match, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess what Benny Safdie is trying to do here is invoke like a certain kind of like gritty 70s character drama aesthetic. There's an intimacy to it. There's an unflinching quality to where he puts his camera and how long he'll hold on a shot is, within the fights, he wants you to feel uncomfortable. And within the arguments, he wants you to feel uncomfortable.
Sure.
But there's not enough to these people for you to care about who wins in any capacity.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the closest this movie came to like creating a dramatic through line is where he gets out of rehab. She is going out and having like, happy hour margaritas with her friends, and he blows up at her about it and like calls his sponsor. And then she blows up at him for telling her what to do and for calling his sponsor. And I'm like, okay, we're about something now. Like it's an addiction drama. Didn't know that's where we were going. And then that after a scene or two is never mentioned again.
Right. All of a sudden, like he's clean and he's fine, and like he snaps his fingers, and now all of a sudden he's sober. Like that. That felt like a whole lot of nothing too.
We've come up with all these ideas of what we think Benny Safdie was thinking and what he hopes to accomplish, but none of that came through in actually watching the film, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see how Josh Safdie's solo film is when his
sports
Timothée Chalamet movie comes out later this year, Marty Supreme. So, what is your number on the Smashing Machine?
Like a 3.5. I kept waiting for this movie to go somewhere or do something, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, I'll say a 4 for the makeup work and for, the change of pace that Dwayne Johnson's attempting here. And for Emily Blunt, her hair and her wardrobe, if nothing else, they signify a lot just when she walks into a room. So Smashing Machine is out in the theaters this Friday. Will you go see it? Let us know.